Welcome in, guys, to WagerTalk TV. This is a new edition of PuckTime. It is Wednesday, December 6th. We are here to break down 3 games, give you guys some best bets at the end of the show. We've got Dallas Stars, Florida Panthers, Penguins taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Edmonton Oilers. If you liked high-scoring games, if you love watching action-packed games, last night, overs go 7-1. We'll find out if it's the same thing tonight, but you got to love that action. Some great games yesterday, Carm. Looking forward to today, man. What are your thoughts on Dallas Stars and Florida Panthers?
I'm glad this isn't an old edition of PuckTime, Andrew, because then I could have gotten an extra hour of sleep. But listen, yeah, yesterday was great for over bettors, 7-1. The goals were just flying. The games were unbelievable last night. The only one that stayed under the total, I think you had the under on Colorado and Anaheim. I put out a free play video on that game, and I had Colorado team total over 3.5. They couldn't get the empty netter in that one, but there are plenty of goals last night with some good goalies in net as well too. And the Hughes show in Vancouver was a great one. Speaking of a great one, this is a good one in Florida. This is a Dallas and Florida game. You look at it, we're likely gonna see the 2 best goalies in here, Ottinger and Bobrovsky. You got Florida, who are on 3 days rest since their last game, and then you've got the Stars, who come off a loss to Tampa Bay in that home and home series where they got shut out. And it was probably it wasn't one of the better games by Ottinger in goal. And I'm referencing that because I'm going to get to that in a second. He's only had like 2 or 3 games like this where I think he's allowed 4, maybe 5 goals in a game, but he always seems to bounce back. The good goalies always seem to bounce back, and we're going to talk about that in the second game as well too. Uh, Honestly, I love the way this Dallas team plays. I still believe I'm sticking to my original statement until someone can prove me wrong that the Dallas Stars are the best team in the West. Colorado is going to make a case for it. Vegas will eventually make a case for it, but we've seen them drop off a bit. Forget about the Oilers, maybe the Kings. The Kings seem to get it done. 10 straight wins on the road for them, 10-0 on the road. But with that said, Andrew, I think you're getting even money on Dallas here. And I would love to get a little bit of plus money. I don't think we're going to see any movement in this line. Even if we do see any movement in this line, it's going to be like a nickel or a dime at worst movement in this game. No book is going to put up good plus money on Dallas, and no book is at the same time wanting to put Florida at -140, -150. Just not going to happen. In a game of 2 teams that can play some defense, you could probably look at the under, which is always tough after a night in which goals were plenty. But I like the Stars here. I'm going to take even money on Dallas. And this may make my card tonight, but for now, I like Dallas at even money.
Carm, I can't believe you weren't showing some more love to the LA Kings when you mentioned those teams, man. The LA Kings are unbelievable. You did mention them, though, but
I
and you
mentioned
talked
them.
about that road
I mentioned them
record.
at the end.
Uh, I know. I'm a big Kings guy. I like the Kings this year. That's my Western Conference team. But yeah, Dallas is great. And one thing I like about Dallas is their ability to bounce back. You look at a lot of bad games they've had, or at least games that they just haven't, met their expectations and played to what they're capable of. They don't really seem to go into a rut. They don't seem to be that team that gets into a small losing streak and kind of loses their confidence and their scoring ability. Looking at their loss against Colorado, they bounce back with a win against New York. Their loss against Calgary, they bounce back with a nice win against Winnipeg. And I think that is a absolute slap in the face to win a game 8-1 and then play against Tampa Bay again and lose that 4-0. Because even though it's a home and home, it pretty much tells you that 8-1 victory meant nothing. If you can't go ahead and have a good performance the next day against Tampa, then it's like, you know what? You have to hit the reset button, and I feel like they will have that bounce back mode in them. And out of both these teams, I would argue that Florida relies more on goaltending than Dallas. I think that Florida's success comes more from their defense and goaltending. Montour back, obviously, and Ekblad back. But when I look at some of these games here for Florida recently, you've got the Islanders, you've got the Canadians, you had a struggling Ottawa team. There's kind of been a little bit of a lighter schedule for this Florida team. I just trust this Dallas offense, especially when they have the ability to bounce back. I love the price we're getting here. And one thing I've noticed, Carmel, I'll throw it back to you. I've noticed you get, I don't want to say probably more value. Like it's always been the same as far as teams that are on the road. But I find myself really riding these streaks with teams that have had success on the road. And I appreciated you, continuously reminding me about the LA Kings, how well they've done on the road. But it's unbelievable looking at this Dallas team. They have not just been a good team on at home. They've really done well when they've gotten on the road. So I'm right there with you, man. I like Dallas.
And this is the thing: a team like Dallas is built to play well on the road because they play a 200-foot game. They've got a good goaltender. Their forwards will check you into the ground or into the ice. And this is why, as you mentioned, they haven't had any prolonged losing streaks. If you look at them this season, they are 6-2 off a loss, and they haven't lost more than 2 games in a row. So, we're 20 games into the season. We're a quarter into the season. That's pretty good. It's hard to find a team like that. It's just like there's always some outlier numbers. It's just like the LA Kings. I expected them to be a very good team. Hard to get scored on this season. And early on in the season, they were allowing goals, as was Carolina. But those teams have sort of settled in. They're playing better defensively. And the outlier is uh, that the Kings are the only team on the road that have yet to lose a game after winning last night. And there was a good chance they were going to lose last night, down 3-0. I felt good about my under in that game, and then all of a sudden, the Kings score 3 goals in a 5-minute span of the third period, and blows that up at 3-3. You can't win, but they're now 10-0 on the road. At some point, they're going to lose. We know that. It's trying to. Do you want to catch a falling knife with that streak? I don't. We'll just wait and see when it's going to happen, but. The resiliency of this Dallas Stars team is a good one. You always want a team that bounces back or has a good record off a loss, and 6-2 is a pretty good record thus far.
Especially off a loss where they, got shut out or scored less than 3 goals, I'd say. Looking at that ability to get back on track right away. And this is kind of a veteran-built team. There's a couple younger players, but certainly a veteran-built team. Guys, as you can see on the screen there, it is Customer Appreciation Day here at WagerTalk.com. $5 plays. Every single handicapper has one play available for just $5. Regular 3 and 4% plays, $25. 5% play, $35. Today only, get our top plays for $5. This works for every play except for a 5% play. Those are very rare and exclusive, so those are the regular price. But $5 Customer Appreciation Day. And guys, the good news about this is that it's not just for plays for today. Some guys will have college football bowl games up. Some guys will have NFL up. All kinds of different options for these $5 plays. For myself, I have a team total play into the NHL. I'm on an 11-3 totals run in the NHL, so you can join me on that. Get my best bet of the day. It's a 4% NHL team total. Carm, what do you have going today for Customer Appreciation Day, man? Only $5 best bets.
Yeah, well, I think it's one best bet, or sorry, one play per capper on that $5 deal. That's not a 5% play. I have an NHL best bet, 2-2 in NHL last night. The only best bet I had, and when I say best bet, is 4% play, not a 5% play, was the Red Wings, which I thought was a great play against the Sabres. Sabres gave it a run in the third period, but didn't get there. So I'm happy that that one cashed. One play up for tonight in NHL, and some afternoon EPL action, Andrew. After the show, I'll have to fill you in on those because we hit both of them yesterday in the Premier League as well too. So we'll see if we can keep that soccer run going. And for you guys taking advantage of that 7-day all access or 7-day package for $49, NFL Plays are being loaded, but I have one play already loaded for this weekend for Sunday. And the last 4 Sundays have been unbelievable. 12, 2, and 1 with NFL plays, including a couple 5% winners. So we'll see if we can keep that little streak going. Gotta love Sunday. Sunday fun day, as they say, Andrew.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great one. And you've been crushing the NFL, but I got to say, those EPL plays, Carm, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm the good luck charm here. Maybe I, keep riding these plays with you. It was a great day yesterday, and I do appreciate you filling me in on those plays. Let's jump into game number 2. The Tampa Bay Lightning. We just talked about how the Dallas Stars fell to the Lightning in their second game of home and home, and Tampa Bay looked great. Vasilevsky, Carm, it seems like whenever anybody doubts this man, whenever anybody thinks, okay, he is not the same guy as we once thought he was, he goes out and puts a performance up like he did in that game here. And looking at this Pittsburgh Penguins team, man, they come into this one plus 115 dogs here, minus 130-ish is the other side, plus 131 or minus 130, 135. Total, of course, at 6.5. One thing I want to say about this Pittsburgh team, which I was kind of surprised about, I found this tweet. It just pretty much said, goals saved above expected. So not actual, but above expected. Tristan Jarry, 11.8. Alex Nedeljkovic, 4.9. And Magnus Hellberg, 1.6. That's for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yet they are 11, 10, and 3 in 6 in the Metro, and they are bottom 3 in turnovers per game. This is a team that actually, I don't think their offense is their problem. Their power play is their problem. But do you think, and I said this at the start, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but I thought there was a problem, Carm, with the fact that you have too many offensive defensemen in one system. Is Erik Karlsson really the guy the Pittsburgh Penguins needed? Because I'm starting to think he wasn't the guy they needed. They probably needed a rock-solid defensive defenseman, not a guy that's going to jump into the rush every time. And I know I'm going to get some guys in the chat saying how wrong they think that is, but I think it's a defense problem right now for this Pittsburgh Penguins team. What's your thought? What are your thoughts here in this matchup?
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second, Andrew. But in that first game, we talked about Ottinger and losing that game and how the Stars bounced back. Man, I got to tell you, Andrew, there's three the three most outrageous statements you can make. Okay, I think in the world right now is, and there's a lot of them you can make. The Earth is flat. Clearly, the Earth is not flat. Um, you can make it. The Mars landing was staged. That's another horrible, outrageous statement. And then on Monday, I'm sitting at the vet hospital, and I'm watching Puck Time, and I hear Vasilevsky is done from the press. The press says Vasilevsky is done. What does he do? Yeah, he's done. He's gone out and done it, and gets a shutout against the against the Dallas Stars just because he got pulled in a game in which he allowed 6 goals, and he got peppered with like 25 shots before they pulled him because Tampa couldn't play any defense. Doesn't mean the goalie is done. There's 30 other teams that would die to get Vasilevsky as a goalie right now, other than the ones in New York that have Sorokin and Shesterkin in net. So Vasilevsky is not done. This Tampa Bay team is just a team that hadn't been playing well, and they came back and played a fantastic game because they needed to. They were embarrassed on the ice 8-1 and came back with a good performance. They're better than Pittsburgh. I will stick to it, and the Pittsburgh fans will come at me at the end of the year. I still said Pittsburgh's not going to make the playoffs this year, and a lot of because of what you said. I think they're too much of an offensive team with their defense, and they allow goals. You look at that overtime that they played in the second game of the back-to-back against the Flyers, and they looked absolutely horrid in overtime. They tried to give that game away, and eventually they gave that game away. This is not, you got to collect points when you have a chance to do so, and this team just doesn't do it. Tampa Bay is minus 130 here, and that's where I'm leaning. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I'm assuming because the goalies weren't named yet that it's going to be Jari and Vasilevsky, and I'm going to take Vasilevsky and Tampa to off that 4 or 5 game losing streak, getting that win to make it 2 on the bounce and get another one.
And as well, these teams just played back near the end of the month on last Thursday, I believe it was, and Pittsburgh came out on top. It is kind of a short revenge game in this situation. And as you mentioned, I just think that this Tampa Bay team is more organized and they have a better system than Pittsburgh really does. And what's mind blowing to me is that Pittsburgh has one of the worst power plays in the entire league. It might even be the worst. And yet they have Malkin, Crosby, Gensel, Carlson, Letang, Rust. Some of the players that they have, it's shocking that they have the worst power play in the league. But I thought Tampa Bay looked great. I thought that it might have been kind of a kick in the butt for them to lose 8-2. It was a huge wake-up call when Dallas Stars smacked them around last weekend. And the way they bounced back, I don't think they're going to just bounce back and play well for one game. They mean business. So I will take Tampa, and I think we're getting a pretty good price here. So I'll just stick with the money line. No need for a regulation or team total or anything like that in this one. However, I will say, I don't know if I'll get to the window with it. I do lean to the under because, like I mentioned, the goaltenders have not been playing very poorly. This Penguins team does bounce back after games that they've kind of gave the puck away a lot and didn't perform at their best. And as I mentioned, you still have two great goaltenders going head to head. And a lot of times when you have a team like Pittsburgh off a game like they are, I was with you, Carm. I watched that overtime game. You know, I was cheering for Pittsburgh too. I had them. And that overtime was reckless. That's the word I would use to describe that overtime. Absolutely reckless. Leaving Nedeljkovic out to dry multiple times, and the game ended with a 2-on-0 breakaway. I'm pretty sure that's pretty sad to look at that. But Tampa Bay is the side for me. I think that they're just gonna get into a good form right now. They had a bunch of losses in a row, and they will get going. Carm, here's the deal: we have the Hurricanes and the Oilers going head to head. Last night, I said the Devils and Canucks were the game of the night. And I think anybody watching that game, we know that everybody wanted to see a high-scoring brand. We got minus 125 for the home team here. Total, as expected in any Oilers game, is at 6.5. Do you think this game could be anywhere close to how that Devils and Canucks game was last night? Because I have a feeling this one could start with a bang, just like the game did last night.
It could start with a bang. Andrew, listen, you look at Edmonton, they're playing better right now, but everyone sort of looks back at that game they played against Carolina and wants to use that as a marker maybe for tonight's game. I would say don't do that. Don't look at it because if you look at that game from an analytics point of view, and you have to factor in analytics into this. If the teams are doing it, and the books are doing it, you as a bettor should be doing it as well too. Look at that game, and the final score is what was it, 6-3 for Carolina. They scored 4 goals in the opening 14 and a half minutes. They chase Skinner out of that game after he allows 4 goals on 12 shots. They pull him with 3 minutes left in the first period of that game. I think Picard, who was it, that came in and only allowed a goal the rest of the way. One was an empty netter. The shots on goal, 27-23 for Carolina, pretty even. The high danger chances, 17-11 for Edmonton on high danger chances, even higher. The goal expectancy, the final goal expectancy, 337 to 285 for the Edmonton Oilers. It was a 14 minutes of bad goaltending, bad play. The Oilers weren't ready to go, and it cost them the game. But you learn off those mistakes. You know what Carolina is going to bring to you. And this is one of the reasons why you can't just look at a game and say, and listen, I'm a fan of Carolina. You can't look at a game and just say, they beat them 6-3. They're just going to walk all over them again. That's not the way the NHL works. Because if it did, then Dallas, who won 8-1 at home against Tampa Bay should have gone down to Tampa the next night and rolled them, or 2 nights later and rolled them again, but didn't. It finishes 4-0 for Tampa Bay. So you have to look at analytics with some of these games, or most of these games, if not all of these games, and factor that into your decision. I'm going to take the Oilers here. I say the Oilers at home are going to get the win. They're starting to come around under their new coach. They're playing better, and we've seen teams playing better once there's a coaching change. It's not going to be easy because Carolina, much like Dallas, play a very good road game. They come, they will check you into the ground, and they play a 200-foot game. You can't make mistakes. If you make mistakes against Carolina, they're going to make you pay, and they made them pay last time out. So the Oilers got to play a perfect game, and it's tough to say they're going to play a perfect game, but I like them to win tonight. So give me the Oilers in this one.
Carm, I think that we read each other's notes today because we're pretty much on all the same place. So if you have a good night tonight in the NHL, I had a good night, and vice versa. So hopefully we're on the same page in a good way, because I like them too. And I think that they're going to look at that last game, and it's going to be all about that first period, how sloppy they came out in the first period. First periods have been the biggest problem for the Oilers. Second and third periods, they've actually been pretty strong. The funny thing is they've just found themselves getting buried 2, 3, even 4 goals, as you mentioned, in some of these first periods, that they find themselves trailing and chasing the game every single time. I went back and looked over the last 3 weeks. You don't want to look at full season stats always, or last, month and a half. The last 3 weeks, we have seen, as far as expected goals against, Carolina, the fourth, they're at the bottom. They're the fourth least amount of expected goals. Edmonton right there with them, the fifth least. So this goes to show, like I talked about it before, on a season as a whole, really, this Edmonton team isn't even bottom 5 in expected goals against. And now over the last 3 weeks, they have almost the fewest expected goals against. This is a team playing much better. And the fact is, when they get even subpar to average goaltending, they are a really good club. They are a really good team. And if you look at some of the goals that were being let in, I used to defend the goaltenders for the Oilers. That Andrew has expired. That's gone. I mean, a lot of times it's just made very clear that there were a lot of goals and a lot of just plays that should have been stopped. The puck should have been frozen. The glove side has just been weak for some of these goaltenders, like Stuart Skinner, Jack Campbell. But when I look at this and I look down the list and I see that both the Oilers and the Hurricanes have given up the fewest chances and have the fewest expected goals against over the past few weeks, it kind of makes me lean towards the under, but it's hard for me to take an under with all the skill that will be on the ice here. So I want to look towards Edmonton. When their analytics are telling me that their goaltenders and their defense is playing average at best, and this is above average, that's when I really want to start betting on this Edmonton team. I believe you can trust their offense. You can trust what they're going to do in the offensive zone. It's all about diving into their defensive stats when you're looking at this Oilers team. The interesting thing here, Carm, is that it's obviously a 6.5 total. And you got the 3.5 is minus 105. The money line is minus 125. I always preach, and I want to try and practice what I preach. If you like an Oilers game, take them over their team total. Would you do that tonight, or would you just take the money line? Because I think that when I look at this Oilers team, more often than not, they're going to put 4 goals up if they win a hockey game. It's very rare. It's a very rare sight to see them win a game 3-1 or 3-2. They usually get to 4 if they cash a ticket, but you're not really saving much. Minus 125 money line, minus 105 team total. What are your thoughts on that?
It's tough, Andrew, because the more I look at this game, and I'm not backtracking on wanting to take the Oilers in this spot, but it's not going to make my card. It is an opinion that I have on the game. It's not going to make my card just because, much like I stated, they're going to have to play I think they're going to have to play a perfect game or one of their best games in order to beat this Carolina team, because this is a very good Carolina team. And then I want to stay out of the markets as far as like any props and stuff, because you look at Carolina and how often do they allow 4 goals in a game, right? And I get it. If the Edmonton, you look at the correlation, you figure if the Oilers are going to win, they're going to score a lot of goals, and do so. But that normally, you can say the same thing about last night's game with the Colorado Avalanche and say, if the Avs win at home, they're going to score a lot of goals, and the game finishes 3-2, stays under the total, and it stays under their team total. So I got drawn into that, and I was wrong in thinking that they were going to score goals at home in a winning effort. They won, didn't score the goals, and this is one of those ones where you talk about just trying to keep it simple more than anything else, because I think if you look for ways around it, and I'm not discounting what you're saying, because you're hitting your team totals and hitting them at a good rate. I'm just not good at it. I try to avoid them, but they just don't allow 4 goals very often. You look at I'm just looking at their games right now, and I think in their last 10 games, they've only allowed 4 goals, over 4 goals or more, twice. One in losing at home to the Islanders, and one in which they lost 8-2 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So um, they just don't allow those goals. It's one of those ones where I'm going to avoid the prop market, Andrew, for the most part. I may look at maybe some shot props in this one if I think it's going to be higher shot totals, or if there's anything of value. But I'm not going to take a shot prop in this game if the vig is any higher than -125 or -130, just because I have no clue um, how whether it is a Hurricanes dictated pace, or whether it's an Oilers dictated pace. If it's the Oilers, and they play their normal style, we probably see some goals. The total's at 6.5, -130. It hasn't moved from last night that I've seen across WagerTalk live lines when I was going over the plays last night. I haven't seen any movement whatsoever. So the total's going to stand firm there. It's not going to go to 7. It's not going to go to 6, of course. It's just a juice movement more than anything else.
That's a really good point, because I should have mentioned that. It's not just when you take a team total, it's not just about the offense. You got to take in the defense into account. And when the Hurricanes lose games, how often are they by, other teams scoring 4 or 5 goals? So I'm happy you mentioned that. And their defense is as great as it gets. And you saw that the last time out for the Hurricanes, losing, but in a defensive battle, which is something that, they really have no problem getting into, which is why they've had success over the years. And they will be looking to bring that into the playoffs this year after they've struggled to take that next step. But very competitive NHL Eastern Conference so far, though. Look forward to seeing what happens throughout the season. But Carm, we've got not just $5 plays today, but also a great deal, $199 for the rest of the season, rest of the calendar year, excuse me. So all sports, all plays, everything NHL, college hoops, MMA, NFL, college football bowl games, soccer, and much, much more. Everything available from your favorite capper for $199. So, guys, if you're someone that wants to look towards longer term or is interested in handicapping multiple sports, this is the package for you. And this price will not change throughout the month. This is what it's going to be. So the sooner you buy this package, the more you'll save and the more plays you will get at this $199 price. So I think it's a great one. It's a great way to end the season. And obviously right now we are in that time of year for sports where there is a ton going on every single night. Carm, I loved it last night, man. I had the Lakers and Suns game on one TV. I had my laptop. I had the Devils and Vancouver Canucks game going on. I had some college hoops. Like, it's just so much fun right now. There's so much action. And it's one of the many reasons why we suggest people take a look at the all access passes. That way you're not just getting one play per day. But it was a great night last night. I'm curious what you have going today. Not just in NHL. You mentioned some soccer stuff. What's going on for you, and what's your best bet?
And before I get to the best bet, I agree with you. Listen, you look at like Brian was the $2 guy yesterday. You know what I mean? And I had the exact same play as him, and I didn't know because I hadn't spoken to him what his player was, which was the under in the Kings game. And I thought it was a dead under, and it's like 1-0 at the end of the first. I think it was 3-0 heading to the third period, and it's 3-0 for Columbus. On top of that, so you figure they're going to put on a great defensive effort. It was a 5-minute span in which they got blitzed for 3 goals, and at 3-3, it's a losing bet. They do happen, but this is the point of sometimes, WagerTalk puts out these phenomenal deals, whether it's customer appreciation, whether it's a $2 Tuesday, but they have the $49 for a 7-day package, which is the equivalent of like, and I don't want to turn this into a sales thing, but it's equivalent of 2 daily packages, but you get 7 days for essentially $7 a day. Judge a guy, especially a guy like Brian, over 7 days of hockey where the guy has been killing it. He's going to lose a play. Unfortunately, it's going to happen. This isn't the Twitter folk that everyone is like 90% on Twitter. They've never lost a play. Or they must have lost a play if they're 90%, but the guys are going to lose plays, unfortunately. Judge a guy over the 7 days of NHL like Brian, not over one play. It was a good play that went wrong. It just happens. Think about plays you've had that you think you should have won and you didn't. It happens. With that said, Andrew.
And for the record, Carm, really quick. Really quick.
Yeah.
And Brian went 8-2 last night for his clients.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that. That's a perfect example. He went 8. He never releases 10 plays, man, and he hit 8 of his plays yesterday. If you're an all access guy, you're pumped. He had a great day.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to get into it, but it is funny in a way because we got to get going and let's do this. But there was one day last year where I had 7 EPL games. 6 of them were 4% plays. One of them was a 5% play. I went 6-0 on the 4% plays for 24 units gained. I lost the 5% play. So I finished 19 units up, going 6-1. And someone didn't even troll me on Twitter. He trolled Kevin Dolan and called him a potato farmer. And Kevin's like, I didn't even take that game. I don't know who you're talking to. And I'm like, hey, Kev, thanks for taking the bullets for me, man. I really appreciate it. But it is the game. You know what I mean? Like a daily package was essentially like $4 more and you're up 19 units. So we hate losing them, but it does happen. But my apologies to Kevin Dolan. If you're watching this in Ireland, you are not a potato farmer. You are one hell of a good guy. With that said, Andrew, listen, some soccer plays this afternoon. One NHL play tonight that you can get for $5 on Customer Appreciation Night. And my best bet, I'm looking for another Dallas Stars bounce back off that shutout. There's no travel. They were already in Florida playing. They played Tampa Bay. Ottinger should be in goal tonight. They're 6-2 off a loss. Look for him to bounce back. He didn't get much help defensively. He certainly didn't get any help offensively as they were shut out. Dallas Stars, even money is my show best bet. Love you guys all in the chat. Today's been a little up and down in the chat, but I love you guys in there, man. We really appreciate you tuning in each and every day.
What a show, Carm. We're on the same page today, man. Let's have a great day. Love these games today. Let's make some money. And guys, $5 plays. Make sure you get Carm's best bet over there for $5. Customer appreciation. I am on an 11-3 totals run. I have a best bet going tonight. It is a team total play. I invite you guys to join me. Yesterday, my best bet of the day was the Detroit Red Wings team total up and over 3.5. Faded a bad goalie, faded a team getting hot. We got 4 goals by the time the second period was over. So join me on that over at WagerTalk.com. Looking forward to a big, big, big day. Let's jump into my free play, though. My best bet, we're going to go with Jack Eichel over 3.5 shots on goal. This is a St. Louis team that is 28th ranked in shots on goal allowed, 19th ranked in shot attempts against. This is a team that gives up a ton of shots. The Blues just beat the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas a handful of days ago. I expect a bounce back performance from this Vegas team, but you got to look towards the props. if the Vegas Golden Knights are going to bounce back, it's going to be because the big name guys like Jack Eichel, who's gone over this prop in 3 of his last 5 games, will have success, and they'll be shooting the puck a ton. Love this number here. Over 3.5 shots on goal for Jack Eichel, big guy there for the Golden Knights, to get the job done against the St. Louis Blues. That's my best bet, guys. Looking forward to a big night. And don't forget, $5 plays all across the board over at WagerTalk.com. We'll see you next time right here on PuckTime.